Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the live stream. Listen, guys, if you live in the world right now, you are in trouble. Yes, you are. You are in some deep, deep trouble because the signs are out. There's no stopping it now. The inevitability of civil war, World War III, global conflict on an industrial scale, World War III, World War IV. It's already started, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to show you how, why, and where this has already started. So if you live in the United Kingdom right now, the news of the day is that David Lammy has just cast away the trial by jury. Now, he's cast that away for only the most serious of crimes. Now, look, guys, I'm going to be quite frank with you guys that trial by jury. I've been saying this for a long time, guys. All right, I've been saying that we need some sort of legal framework to protect ourselves. I've done that to death. Right now, it's getting further and further away from the people of the United Kingdom having that legal framework, because without that legal framework to protect ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, we have nothing. And without that legal framework, the likelihood of a bloody civil war is more, it just goes up. So for those of you guys who don't, who've not really been paying attention to this, I just want to cast everybody's minds to, there was a Royal Marine, an ex-Royal Marine, and he put a spicy Facebook. I don't know whether it was Facebook. I don't know whether it was X. But basically, there was an ex-Royal Marine, and he put something spicy online, and he got arrested, and he got, there was a trial. He said, "No, I'm not guilty. I want to be tried." That obviously went up to like the Crown Court, as it was due. As he needed his due process. Now, when that went up to a jury, and the jury looked and thought, right, well, is he guilty of a crime? Is he guilty of something? And they said, I think it took the jury 7 minutes to say, no, this guy's he's definitely not guilty of a crime. He just literally put a Facebook post on. Now they've taken that away. Maybe, and I don't know if this is true, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying it is true. I'm not saying it is. I don't want to get Lucy Conlid. So I'm asking a question, all right? I don't know the answer to this. I've got no opinion. You guys let me know what you think, if you dare. So could there be, or do you think this is total conspiracy, that there could be liberal lefty judges that will send people to prison for Facebook posts or online commentary that's not really that bad, and those same judges will let people who commit real crimes just walk? Could that be the case? Now, if you abolish, which they have done, if you abolish juries, that is exactly what happens. So now, ladies and gentlemen, think about this, all right? The chess pieces are moving into place. So think about all these auditors. These guys that are going into the hotels, these guys that are filming, all those guys, they're going to be gone. They're going to be gone very soon. They're going to get arrested. You're not going to hear about them. They're just going to stop posting. And this is where we slide into tyranny. This is the slow march towards tyranny. And ultimately, you can't hide this. It really is like trying to bolt that lid on, because people can see what's happening. People will be like, oh, where are all these auditors gone? And then the rumor will get out that these guys have been sent to prison. I don't know if that's going to happen, guys. I'm speculating, of course, for entertainment purposes. And the more this happens, the more people understand and the more angry people get. Because today, in modern Britain, it doesn't seem like committing a crime is the crime. It seems like showing people committing the crime's the crime. It feels like telling the truth is the crime. And that's the crime, the real crime that they want to lock you up on. Hang on, guys. I think I had a side-by-side here. Oh, I must have not. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. I did have a side-by-side of a judge, of a liberal judge in the United Kingdom who, well, I don't even know if she's liberal, of a judge in the United Kingdom. She gave someone 20 months in jail for a Facebook or for an online post. And she let someone go for rape. That is out online, guys. That's for entertainment purposes. I can't find that. I can't find that article. If anybody's got that, guys, please put it in the chat. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, right, let me jump over here because there's lots happening. Right, let me turn the chat on. Sorry, guys, the chat's not on. The chat's on now. Danny Walker is saying the government want this civil war and World War III to start so they can use digital ID to recruit soldiers and to calm the situation down. Listen, guys, I've seen it now. I've seen it. World War III is going to be fought by Gen Z because it's got a ring to it. And World War IV is going to be fought by the millennials. So if you're 40 and under right now, or under, if you're over 20, you know, that's probably the wrong dynamic. If you're over 30 and under 50, you're going to be fighting World War IV. That's the reality. Because the millennial Gen Z will be overseas fighting a global conflict on an industrial scale. And it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, it turns out Kremlin says... So basically, hang on, let me get this out. Let me get this. There's a headline and it was really funny. Vladimir Putin, not that one. Here we are. So it turns out peace deals and peace negotiations between the Russians and the Americans, it turns out they failed again. They failed. And didn't Donald Trump give the ultimatum of last Thursday or something? You know, and for all those people, like, you know, when I come on here and, you know, and all the mainstream media, they're all talking about this new peace deal and this new ceasefire negotiation. What do I always say? Guys, listen, like, if we're talking about the Ukrainian situation, the boots on the ground, the fighting, that dictates the war. Not Zelensky or these people sat in their little back rooms with their little deals and their little negotiations. That doesn't matter. It does not matter. Nobody cares. I've been telling you guys for such a long time that this is dragging. This is going to mean British boots on the ground in Ukraine. So another peace deal's failed. Another one of Donald Trump's red lines have been overstepped. Another meeting, another Vladimir. I think Vladimir Putin said something like, yes, we have had very productive talks with American counterparts, but yes, still no ceasefire. And why would you? Like, let me check the war map. If you were Vladimir Putin right now, why would you even consider a ceasefire when you're winning? It makes no sense. It does not. Oh, hang on. Right, let me refresh this screen. Yeah, so there's not really been any... Oh, okay, the map's not updated. That's why there's not been any significant movement in Ukraine. So I don't know if you guys have been watching the news or not, or watching videos from open source social media. You've literally now got the Russians. So you've literally got the Russians now in the town center of Pokrovsk, literally stood by the town hall with the Russian flag on the top of Pokrovsk. But, you know, Pokrovsk is still in Ukrainian hands. It's not, guys. It's not. And I told you this was going to happen 2 weeks ago. And none of these peace deals, none of these ceasefire negotiations are going to, none of them are going to work. It's even if tomorrow Zelensky and Putin were, you know, they had a meeting and they were doing bro hugs and high fives and chest bumps, you know, even if that happened, the guys on the front line wouldn't stop fighting. You know, the Ukrainian military is not structured the same as the British military or NATO military. The chain of command is more of an, you know, it's more of a guideline than an actual rule, the chain of command in Ukraine. So all over the front line, you have different military commanders who may or may not like each other. They may or may not talk to each other. They may or may not cooperate with each other. They've all got, you know, they all have different tactics. They all have different procedures. Some of them have got American weapons. Some of them have got French weapons. Some by French weapons, I mean white flags. I'm sorry, I'm only joking, guys. I don't mean any harshness to any French people. Or do I? No, I don't. But equally, I don't care. Some of them have got German weapons, you know, so you've got this Frankenstein of military in the front line or on the front line in Ukraine. So even if, like they did with the Minsk peace agreement, like they did with the Minsk 2, you know, these ceasefires, that have been agreed, they don't stop the people on the front line fighting. They don't stop the people on the front line fighting because they still do the shooting. They still do shooty. And if they don't stop doing shooty, how do you stop them? Like literally, guys, you have got two armies now. I would say right now, Russia is the most experienced. Well, do you know what Russia is? Russia, there's no other militaries that are more experienced about fighting in Ukraine than the Russians and the Ukrainians. And the Russians are pushing forward. So you guys take from that whatever speculation you want. So when you get military pundits coming in here saying, yes, the NATO military would, it wouldn't. And I get it, guys. I totally get it. What people are saying. When you're trying to compare military side by side, you look at them, right? You look at them and you say, right, okay, these guys have got, I don't know, 6 months training, all right? Yeah, okay, right, 6 months training. We've spent this much money on kit and equipment. They've got night vision goggles. They've got, they've got rifles that can shoot 300 meters individual or up to 600 as part of a squad or section, which is American or British. They're all trained. They're all interoperable. Yeah, that's this military. These guys, well, they don't really have any training. They don't really have any kit and equipment, but there's tons of them. I totally understand how people would think looking at this. Looking at this situation, how the NATO military, because it is, the NATO military on paper is far superior. But the proof is in the pudding. The devil is in the detail. Let's just look at the war map, guys. Let's just look at the war map. I'm going to share with you guys the war map real quick. So, this is Pokrov's, guys. It's not, the map's not refreshed yet. The map hasn't refreshed, so it'll probably refresh by tonight. But when we look at the front line, okay, let's just say that NATO troops get into Ukraine, right? And let's just hypothetically, let's just play this out, all right? Where they're going to go. Let's just say they go to Pokrov's, all right? Let's just say, NATO gets into Pokrov's and they start pushing the Russians back, all right? They need to push back. They need to push, let's just say, to the shortest area, which I would say is here. So let's just say, and I know this is an estimate, guys. I know this is a wild estimate. Okay. So let's just pretend, all right? You guys can see that, right? So let's just pretend, all right? Just for 1 second, guys. Go with me, all right? Let's just pretend that the NATO force, it doesn't matter. It's just an example. Let's just pretend that the Russian military, they take Pokrov's and NATO say, right, that's it. That's the final straw. We're going to move in there. All right. The NATO military move in. They've got to push 123. They've got to push these Russians back 123 kilometers to the border. Not in a million years is that going to happen. And it's not just in one place either. They've got to do that. I'm going to, roughly, some places are more. I would say 100, go with 120. Obviously, some places they would have to push back more. Maybe here, north of Mariupol, a little bit less. But you guys get the picture, right? They would have to push the Russians, and then you'd have to push them out of Crimea. They would have to push the Russians back a long way. Now, let's do some Raven maths. Because I know you guys love Raven maths. Let's say that let's say that the individual 5.56 rifle has an effective range of up to 300 meters. All right, let's just do Raven maths. All right, Raven maths. So let's just say one platoon can push. Let's just say one platoon can push let's just say one platoon can push 300 meters, all right, at a time. They can push 300 because of the range of the weapon system. I know this is very difficult for me to estimate, guys. It's very difficult for me to estimate. And if it, oh, but what about artillery and what about drone? Yeah, okay, right, I get that. I'm giving you guys initial rudimental Raven maths, all right? Let's just say that let's just say that a NATO military can push 300 meters, a platoon, before it has to reconfigure, before it has to be resupplied. And in that attack, they take 2 casualties, all right? So let me do the math. So 2 casualties, and I'm going to say a platoon's at 30. So give me a second, guys. I'll do the NATO maths. So we've got 123 kilometers. I'm going to call it 120 kilometers. Give me a second, guys. Just, it'll be easier working it out. 120, 0, 0, 0. Yeah. So 120,000 meters divided by 300 equals, okay, 400. Okay, so that means that one platoon would have to do 400 attacks. Now, if you look at an attrition rate of each attack, so that's 800. So for one platoon, to make that ground, you would be looking at just in that one line, you would look at it would take that would cost 800 men. So that line there, just that line, I'm not talking about north and south. I'm talking about if a platoon were to push through that would cost 800 men. Now, if you times that by the front line, you can start to see the body count, right? You can start to see the body count, the NATO body count. This is if they take 2 casualties per attack, and you could say they're going to take more than 2 casualties per attack. They took a lot more than that in the Falklands. So, and I get it, guys. I get the grounds undulating and people are going to be going left flanking and right flanking. I totally get that. But if we say that one straight line corridor, let's say at platoon width, which would be what? 100 meters, maybe 200 meters. So let's just say a 200 meter corridor costs 800 lives. Let me ask, I'm going to do Raven maths. Guys, look, the numbers, the attrition, what I'm getting at here is the attrition rate is phenomenal. I'm going to jump onto the chat now, guys. So doing my rudimental Raven maths, now you guys can understand, do you think that the NATO military can sustain those attritional losses? I'll let you in with a little secret, guys, okay? I will let you in for a little secret. The answer is no. The answer is no. They are not willing to do that. So best case scenario, we get a stalemate. Right, let me jump onto the chat. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, if you live in the United Kingdom right now, we have tiptoed another step towards tyranny. Yes, we have, good sirs, ladies and gentlemen. We have tiptoed further towards tyranny. David Lammy, we love David Lammy. We love David Lammy, don't we? What video have we got? I'll share a video with you guys. David Lammy has scrapped. Yes, he has. David Lammy has said, you know what? I'm not really interested in trial by jury anymore. I just want my mates to do the, well, I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think in the chat. But David Lammy, he's scrapped.
Why I'm against this is the idea of one judge deciding my fate really worries me. I mean, supposing, if you've got 3 people there, or you've got 12, better still, 12 people there, I think that on balance, you will be able to get your argument across. And if there are 1 or 2 that take against you, don't like what you look like, or didn't laugh at your joke or whatever.
Okay, right. Listen, guys, just let me let you guys into a little secret, right? If you're standing there in front of a jury or a judge, don't make a joke, all right? Don't make a joke. when I was in the military, I turned up for my driving test and I handed in my helmet. I said, mate, you might want to put that on. I failed.
Or just decide, I mean, I frequently suffer from this, that I'm a wrong un. Then at least you've got a better chance than if it's one person can just take against you. And, you know, you're then in jail for up to 3 years, potentially. I think that is the problem. And I'm not sure that the benefits overall in terms of speeding things up are going to be that huge.
No, and if you're going to speed it up, there are other ways of doing it. The courts sit on more days, and that may cost money. But that's a solution that is not reducing the right to jury trial. And don't judges have a natural bias towards believing the prosecution? Because a lot of them are former prosecutors. That's their world. They don't think they're being cheated by the police and the prosecutors, whereas an innocent man may be being cheated by them.
I think there is. I mean, you've got to be careful about. I mean, you know, I disagree with you on judges being lefty, and I think you've got to be careful about assuming that all judges think the same thing. There are a wide range of opinions amongst the judiciary. Nonetheless, they do tend to be establishment types.
So, what do we think, guys? Do we think that judges? Do we trust the judges? Do you trust the judge that sent Lucy Conley down for, you know, a Facebook, what was it, Facebook or a tweet? We're in wild times, ladies and gentlemen. We are in wild times, the global cabal. Do you know what, guys? The more I do these videos and the more I see these things, you know, and the more I look at what's happening. If you play chess, I don't know if you guys play chess or not. You don't want to make your killer move and leave yourself exposed. So what you do before you do your killer move, you set your other pieces up to protect your queen or to protect your ace, whatever, you know, to protect yourself. So, for example, you know, if you was planning an attack in the military, you know, you wouldn't want to start that attack until your artillery was in place, you know. So this is what this is signaling to me. To me, this is signaling, you know, all these auditors and all these people who go out making pictures and making videos in these hotels. What this is saying to me right now, ladies and gentlemen, is those people are going to get rounded up very quickly. And this is what happens when you're in a socialist state. This is what happens when you're in a, you know, when you're in when you're under a dictatorship, when you're living in a tyranny. This is what happens. They put all these people in prison, and you know, a lot of people are going to be in prison very soon, guys, and people will be complaining, people will be moaning, but you know what, I have no sympathy for them, because they were all doing the wrong thing. Rather than finding a legal framework to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government, people were going down to London, waving flags and marching and changing nothing. The courts, guys, the courts. If you want a peaceful solution to what's coming, we need to get that, we need to get that legal framework. If you don't want a peaceful solution, then let things continue, because civil war, global conflict on an industrial scale, guys, it's already here. It's already here, and it's starting with lawfare. Mark is fine. Mark is fine. I'm sure Mark is fine with a beautiful picture of a little, what's that? It's a little, I don't know. Is it like a little ferret or something? Mark is fine. He's saying apparently there are 3 prisons in this country at 40% capacity. Yeah, you know, I don't know. You know, I don't know if these, I don't know, obviously, if these prisons are full. I don't know. I don't have access to these prisons. Band again is saying auditors was waking up the public. Do you know what, guys? They are. You're right. I don't think the government like that. So I think the government are going to close them down pretty quickly. The government will close them down pretty quickly, guys, and they will be swizzled like a jadizzle. They're going to be swizzled like a jizzle. They're going to be gone. They are going to be gone. They're all going to get arrested. You know, they're all going to get arrested. And again, he's saying the best advert ever keeps popping up. Winter Woolies, gorgeous Swedish girls. I know the Swedes have a massive uncontrolled migration problem. I think they were the first they were the first country in Europe to have mass problems. You will judge and sentence before you even enter the courtroom. It's going to become a farce. It is, Debbie Doobs. Listen, I love Judge Dredd. I do. I love Judge Dredd. But we're going to have like Keir Starmer and his mates literally cruising around as Judge Dredd. I am judge, jury, and executioner. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? That was the dystopian future on Judge Dredd, where you have these police officers. I don't know if you guys have read the comics, where you have these police officers and they are judges and they are, they're the police, they're the jury, and they're the executioners. So they turn up, and they just judge you straight away. And, there's no courtroom. Isn't it strange how that is so... I mean, we look at Judge Dredd, right? We look at Judge Dredd and we think, wow, that's like a dystopian world. We're not too far off that, ladies and gentlemen. I promise we are not too far off that, because now this judicial system has changed. Like, and what do we think? Listen, guys, I've said this quite a few times. The two gentlemen who had fisticuffs in Manchester Airport? What do you think? Do you think they're going to get judged with no jury? Do you think then the next trial is going to be without a jury and they're going to get a lenient judge? And what are you going to do about it? What will you do about it? If these guys, all right, the two brothers in Manchester Airport who allegedly had fisticuffs with the police officers, as I understand it, they're going to have a retrial. Now, in that retrial, if those two brothers who had fisticuffs with the police officers in Manchester Airport, if it comes out that there's no jury and they get a lefty judge and the judge says, do you know what, lads? Yeah. It was that naughty police officer's fault. It was that naughty police officer's fault. And you guys were just doing right by your, you guys did the honourable thing. If that happens, guys, allegedly, what are you going to do about it? What will you do? I'll tell you exactly what you'll do. You'll do nothing. You will do nothing, because you can do nothing. You can do nothing. And this is the reality, guys. All right. This is the reality now. And I've been harping on about this for such a long time. We don't have any rights in the United Kingdom. Starmer wants rid of juries before the rent boys get in, Doc. Claire is saying Sweden is too far gone, unfortunately. It is, guys. The situation in Sweden is wild. There's like grenade attacks. There's there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening out there. There's shootings, there's grenade attacks. Young women are terrified. Sweden doesn't look like it's full of Swedish anymore. This image that you have of like going to Sweden? Like these tall Viking blonde people with like really tall and blue eyes and blonde hair. It's kind of not like that, guys. It's kind of not like that. Mesolera is saying, morning all, imagine if we start outsourcing prisoners to France. Oh, the irony. Listen, guys, these guys that are going over to France? I really like... is there some way we can contact them? Is there a way that you can contact them? I'd love to speak to them, but I'm sure lots of people are messaging them. So I don't want to be like another voice in the crowd. But I would love to speak to these guys. It's like that raise the colors, or is it raise the flags? Raise the colors or raise the flags. They're going out to France. I think they're out there right now. I would love to speak to these guys. I really would. I really love to find out more about that situation. So Bandagain is saying a violent revolution doesn't need the law on its side. I think, you know, JFK said when the government, you know, let me get it up for you guys. Let me get this up. Let me get this up, this meme. Right. Let me share this with you because, you know, I don't want the type of civil war in the United Kingdom that makes a lot of people just gone. I don't think that's going to be productive. You know, and as Bandagain is saying, you know, you've got this meme here, and I think this stands today. You know, I think this stands today. You know, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. And this is what, you know, this is what I've been talking about for such a long time. You know, if we had, and we're not going to get it, guys, we are not going to get the peaceful solution. If we had, you know, because people try to hold on to power. So if we had that legal framework to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government whereby, you know, somebody, you know, where somebody can protect themselves against the government, we may not head into a full-scale violent, you know, civil war forcing a revolution. But because the government are trying to hold on to power, they're not letting that happen peacefully. And, you know, JFK is saying there, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. And I do think that's fair. I do think what he's saying there still stands today. I really do. Templar Matt is saying that's one way to motivate the British people, Sean. You will do nothing. Guys, listen, I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to tell you what's coming. All right. Right now, if these people, you know, you will do nothing. You will do nothing, guys. I'm not telling you guys that, you know, what you should or shouldn't do. I'm saying right now, you know, when these two guys from Manchester Airport, when they are, you know, when they get let off and they don't go to prison, they spend no prison time. Nobody's going to do anything, guys. Nobody, because you can't do anything. And I'm being honest with you. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, I can. Let's get out there, lads. Let's raise our flags. Let's never surrender. Come on, guys. Let's all get sent to prison. Let's all get sent to prison without trial. Yeah. How's that gonna help you? Lads, get out on the streets. Get out on the streets and all get arrested. And then leave your wives and your children at home. Leave your wives and your children at home while you're in a cell and see what happens to them. Go do it, lads. Honestly, it's absurd. It's ridiculous, guys. All right. Right now is not the time to put your head above that parapet. I'm not being unpatriotic. I'm being absolutely realistic. All right. I'm being realistic. All right. Things will happen. You know, this is an inevitability right now. Now's not the time to stick your head up, guys. Now is not the time to stick your head out of that parapet, you know, because it's just going to get pulled down. You know, it's just going to get pulled down. There's no trial by jury anymore. So if I, for example, right, let's just say I got a knock on the door now. Sean, yes, we're the police. Oh, all right, mate, what's up? Oh, we've heard you go on the live stream and you're telling people to fight against the government, which I'm absolutely not. Okay. Yeah, well, you're going to prison. Oh, well, I've not done. Show me what I've said. Oh, we're not going to show anybody. We're just going to, there's a judge here ready to send you down. You're going to go to prison. And I'm going to assume that most of you guys don't want to go to prison. I'm going to assume that most of you guys, like you, most of you men, you know, I'm going to assume that you men would prefer to stay at home with your families where you can actually protect them rather than being in prison. Can you imagine, you know, guys, listen, all right, I'm telling you what's coming. I'm giving you guys the realistic options. Right now, there isn't any. You know, there isn't any. Things, you know, there isn't any. Cheryl Heppelstone is saying, have you seen that video of those 3 men I put on YouTube about the government? Sherry, that could, I don't know, that could be a lot of stuff. That could be a lot of stuff. And David is saying, if you do go to prison, you'll probably get released by accident anyway. Claire is saying, prisons are full of radicals bullying whites into convert, full of Romanians, Sudanese. It's vile, absolutely vile. I would have this country on it. I would have this country on its knees if I was in charge, I swear. Right, I think listen, guys, listen, ladies and gentlemen, right? I'm not trying to tell people not to do what they feel. I'm saying to you guys, right now, you know, it's not the time to, like, right now is not the time to, like, look, you know what? Forget that. Let's see what happens with the sentencing of all these, you know, all these online auditors. I think they're going to get closed down really quickly, guys. I do, because you have to operate within that legal framework. You can't operate outside that legal framework, guys. It's all right wanting to stand up there and say, well, we're the people. It's not going to work. You'll get closed down. You'll be in jail. And don't come crying to me. Do not come crying to me when you're in jail. So, right, let me jump up. So Bandagain is saying, David Lammy in charge of the law. What could go wrong? I mean, isn't David Lammy the ultimate judge? You can just see David Lammy chasing you down, can't you? On one of those motorbikes, you know, those, like, I think it's like a, you know, those big, like, cruiser motorbikes. You can just see David Lammy chasing you down on one of those and, like, chasing you into a building. You know, he's there on his own. His partner's being shot. You know, his partner's being shot, and David Lammy's there. He forward rolls in there, bang, bang. He takes down the 2 bad guys. You know, somebody jumps at David Lammy, his elbow. He's got him in a headlock, and then he's like Mawasha-Gary and another guy. He's throat chopping, doing tactical John Wick mag changes. You know, and then he gets everybody up, and then, you know, David Lammy's got all these criminals arrested. He walks in. You know, he's got one hand on his pistol. Good trigger discipline. He walks in, David Lammy, and he's like, I am the law. Pity we don't have a decent king for the people with balls. I think you could have rephrased that better, user FW3, but I totally understand what you mean. Yeah, it's a pity we don't have a king. You know, so the king, or the crown, I guess, the crown is supposed to... So the crown is supposed to look at these matters. Now, I don't know the legalities of this. But the legal system, I'm pretty sure any change to the legal system, it has to be signed by the king. And surely the king, like, it's going to be a really good litmus test to see whose side the king is on. Debbie is saying King Charles prays 5 times a day. I don't know. I wouldn't know if he does or not. Yeah, there's also been a British man detained in Ukraine on charges of spying for Russia. So this guy in Ukraine who's been arrested by the Ukrainian intelligence services. Like, I don't know who he thought he was. You know, he obviously thought he was like John Wick or like Jason Bourne or something. So he's gone over there. He's fighting for the Ukrainians. And allegedly, so I don't, what we're being told is he's been arrested for, spying on behalf of the Russians. I think he's been involved in some, well, allegedly he's been involved in some high profile assassinations as well. Right. Talking about Ukraine, guys, I'm going to share with you guys a little video from Zelensky. Now, I honestly, every time I look at Zelensky right now, I'm just thinking, where's my money, Zelensky? Where's my money? Where's my dough, bro?
One can inspire. Ukraine wants peace. Ladies and gentlemen, one strong country can start a war. Another strong country can help to stop the war. But to restore justice and defend what's right, we need a community, a world made up of many different nations. It is the community of nations that decides, united by shared sentiments, shared aspirations.
Just for you guys that are watching this now, this is going to drag the whole of Europe. It's going to drag the whole of Europe into a global conflict. When I'm looking at this now, for those of you guys who were on the live stream a couple of nights ago, we were talking about the corruption in Ukraine. And if it's true, and I don't know if it's true, you guys may have heard something, I don't know. If it's true about this conversation of Zelensky and his bros talking about how to get $4 billion out of Ukraine, $4 billion. I mean, some of the numbers here, guys, are phenomenal with this alleged corruption. Now, they've officially announced there's 100 million missing, which is peanuts in this conflict. Like 4 billion, that's more money than anyone needs, guys. That's more money than anyone needs. I mean, you would expect him to like skim off like 5 or 10 million for himself and just put that somewhere, But the levels of corruption are so phenomenal. They were, alleged. So for you, those of you guys who don't know, he was allegedly, I need to keep saying that because this information is not out yet. He was allegedly heard by this National Corruption Bureau, I don't know what it's called, NABU. He's been recorded talking to his friends or discussing how to get $4 billion out of Ukraine. The corruption is that big. Allegedly, he phones up Macron, right? He has to phone Macron up and he's like, mate, I need to buy a French bank to launder this money. Like, and every time I see him now, I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments.
A shared desire for justice. It is a community of nations that makes peace truly lasting. Geographically, large or small, politically influential or playing a different role, economically powerful or not, when these different voices stand together on the side of justice, on the side of free people, there is...
Honestly, like, he's talking about justice. Where's the justice for the private soldiers in Ukraine that are on the front line paying for this conflict with their blood? Where's the justice for those guys? If it's true that all this money is being skimmed off the top.
Only one possible outcome: peace and justice must prevail. When you have a true community of nations on your side, you cannot be crushed.
I can't listen to him anymore, guys. Listen, I need to be clear. I've got friends who I consider family who live in Ukraine. But this, it's not going to, it's not going to end well for Zelensky, guys. I promise you, it's not going to work. It's not going to end well for Zelensky. Not going to end well for him at all. What else have we got up here? What else have we got up here? We've got Putin. Putin's negotiating team. They're not interested anymore, guys. They're not interested. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump's negotiating team are still at odds over control of Ukrainian territory after talks ended this evening. So as the talks have ended, everybody was they're going to have these peace talks, and the Americans and the Russians are going to, the Americans and the Russians they're going to have this peace deal, and they're going to force the Ukrainians into it. What did I say to you guys? I say it's not going to happen. I'm saying, no, it's fake. It's a fugazi. It's an absolute fugazi, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fugazi. They bought a bank in France for laundering money. Look, guys, I don't know. I'll be quite clear with you guys. I don't know. I don't know where you're getting that information from. The information that I have is that the scandal, this may be another bank. They may have had to buy another bank. So Zelensky is allegedly being recorded by the National Agency for Corruption or whatever it is in Ukraine, and he's been recorded saying, "How do we get this 4 billion with a Bravo? How do we get this 4 billion out of Ukraine?" And they said, right, we need to buy a bank somewhere. So he's phoned Macron up, his bro. He's like, "Hey Macron, what are you doing?" And like allegedly for entertainment purposes, right? Macron, I'm not going to go with it. And then allegedly Macron, he's been recorded on the phone to Macron trying to buy a French bank. Now, I don't know if this has happened. David is saying, aren't NATO paying twice to Ukraine? They give them millions for weapons, i.e. to make drones, and then buy drones back off them. I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case at all. No, I wouldn't say that, but I know they're paying a hefty price. So what a lot of the money that goes to Ukraine doesn't actually go to Ukraine. For example, I don't know, Germany will say, we are going to pledge to Ukraine $100 billion. And then what they will do, they will buy some of their own, they will produce kit and equipment in their own countries and then send that over. So, this is one of the big problems where we talk about production, and, so it may be well and good, somebody saying, we are going to give the Ukrainians $100 trillion. And they say, okay, what does that mean? What does that actually mean? Because right now, guys, these numbers, this money that's been thrown around, it has no it has no meaning. So for example, if this, right, this bottle opener, right? Let's just say this bottle opener was key to the war. Let's just say these bottle openers are key to the war. This MacGuffin, all right? Let's just say this MacGuffin is key to the war, all right? Over here on NATO, the NATO side, they're spending billions on MacGuffins, all right? Because they make their MacGuffins out of the most, they make their MacGuffins out of the best steel in the best factories, and all the people in those factories have the best human rights, and they have the best, health and safety record, and they do the best MacGuffins. And, NATO are spending £1 billion a year on MacGuffins, and they're producing 10, all right, a year. Yeah? The Russians are also producing same said MacGuffin. But the Russian budget, they don't have the same budget, and they're just spending a tenner. But they're producing 50. They're producing 50 MacGuffins. Yes, NATO is outspending, but who's producing more MacGuffins, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, it is all about the MacGuffins. Yes, it is. It's all about those MacGuffins. Templar Matt is saying he could open his own bank with 4 billion. So I don't know what the laws are. I don't know what the laws are, but they needed to. Guys, this is alleged. This is alleged. This information is not out there in the public yet, although it will be. And you know, when it comes out in the public, we will sit here. We'll have another live stream. I'll say, hey guys, remember when this happened? Was it to depopulate so they can mine the rare earth? I don't know what that is in response to. Okay, right. Okay, so so there are a lot of rare earth material. There are a lot of rare earth materials in Ukraine. However, they're not easy to get to. They're really not easy to get to. So I totally accept, you know, there's a shit ton of resources in Ukraine. You know, coal. I know people don't talk about coal much, but it's still a resource. There's coal, there's uranium, there's lithium, you know, there's all sorts of stuff in rare earth, like, you know, like user FW3 saying, you know, there's a lot of rare earth materials in there. It's not easily accessible. So I would say they need a good workforce to do that. So I don't think depopulating would be the, you know, the best strategy. Steve Garner is saying, where do I get a MacGuffin? Well, if you're in Russia, you pay 10 pence for one. If you're in the United Kingdom, they're about 200 quid. Yeah, user FW3 is saying you get bang for your buck. You know, whether we're talking about MacGuffins or whether we're talking about ammunition, the same. You know, it's exactly the same. You know. Arrest that man! Arrest that man with the bottle opener. Put the bottle opener down and step back away from your phone. 11th of November, Ukraine opens drones exports to fund its defend, and Europe is buying. I don't think that's happening, guys. I don't think that's happening at all. It may be happening. You know, it may be happening on some scale, but there's nothing in Ukraine that we can't build in the West. You know, people think there isn't. You know, it's okay. So somebody put on the chat a while ago that you know, the Ukrainians are using some sort of like secret technology, and the reality is there's nothing. You know, these drones. You know, there's nothing happening. The only thing that the Ukrainians can do, and it's not better, it's just cheaper. You know, it's just cheaper. And I think once people start making money, it's not going to be cheaper. It's not going to be cheaper, guys. Once people start making money, it's not going to be cheaper to export from Ukraine. And the companies that can do these exporting, so I don't know if you guys know about military exports or not. You can't just export from, like, if you're producing drones in Ukraine. So if you're producing drones in Ukraine, I'm going to say it's like these type, the quadcopter types, or maybe these fixed wings, but I'm going to assume it's these ones. Because all these things are drones, guys. And when people talk about drones, you know, people get like, people get confused. They see these little quadcopters, which is a drone. They see these big RQ-12s, or the Global Hawk or Mark 19, whatever it's called, you know, and they are all drones, but they're you know, they're very different. So when we talk about military exports from Ukraine, not everybody who's producing drones in Ukraine can export them. So straight away, this will be an oligarchy. It will be an oligarchy. And the people who are exporting these drones, they will want to make as much money as possible. So the little guys who are producing their drones for, like, I don't know, their MacGuffin drones, they're producing them for, like, I don't know, $10,000 or whatever. Once it gets through licensing, it gets through, you know, you can't just, so as well, you know, the drones that are being used on the front line, not a chance in hell they're going to be sold to a NATO country, because they would need certification, they would need testing. I don't think it's going to happen, guys, because once all that happens, it's no cheaper than building it in the air. You know, it's no cheaper than there's no advantage buying it that's from a NATO country. You know, so I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to bring any money into Ukraine at all, guys. I don't think it's going to bring any money into the United. I don't think it's going to bring any money into Ukraine at all. The USA spends more dollars than the rest of the world combined. No one can go against them. I agree. No one can go against the United States. They are the biggest boy in town. They're the biggest kid in the playground. They can shoot down drug smuggling boats and then shoot down all the people. They can do whatever they want, ladies and gentlemen, because they are the big guys. They are the big guys. You know, I always say this. The US Air Force is the biggest air force in the world, and the second biggest air force is the US Navy. And I think the next closest is like a factor of 10 smaller. Up the hill and around the corner is saying, now I have to buy a new drone. Well, buy a Ukrainian one. It may be good, it may not. And, you know, DJI are the world leaders in these drones, guys. They really are. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are just joining right now, we have been talking, although we have gone on a massive side quest this morning. We've been talking about the inevitable. In fact, let me share this again while I talk about this. So we have been talking about the inevitability of civil war in the United Kingdom. We've been talking about how those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. Did I say that right? Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. I didn't say that, guys. They're not my words. They are not my words. So if anybody wants, before the police come and they knock on my door and say, Sean, are you saying a violent revolution is inevitable? I'm saying no. JFK said, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. And this is what I've been saying. And this ties in with the cessation, the stopping of trial by jury. So right now in the United Kingdom, guys, I think it's murder, rape, and manslaughter are the only, I might be wrong on that, guys. Please, somebody fact check me. I think it's murder, rape, and manslaughter are the only crimes that you will get trial by jury. So if you put a social media post online, like if JFK put that on, so if JFK posted that in the United Kingdom, he may be arrested. He may be, guys, good example. So if JFK was alive right now and he put that on social media, and he said, hey, listen, guys, I think governments that make, sorry, guys, let me get this back up. So if JFK posted this today, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. He would get a knock at his door. Hello, mate. Yeah. What? Yes, mate. What is it? Oh, we've got your post here, and it's looking like you're calling for a violent revolution. This is what would happen, and JFK would say, no, I'm not calling for a violent revolution. I'm just saying if the government don't let people do things peacefully, the inevitable will be a violent revolution. Yeah, we think you're inciting violence. And he's like, no, I'm definitely not. Well, we're gonna send you to court. And he's like, yeah, whatever, send me to court. And then when he gets there, it's one of Keir Starmer's mates, and he's like, you, JF Kennedy, are accused of social media posting and inciting a violent revolution against this crown and government. I hereby sentence you to 3 years. you know, it's some. Oh, what have I just done? You know, that is what would happen if JFK posted that in the United Kingdom right now, guys. He would be sent to prison without a jury. You know, he would be sent to prison without a jury, and you know that is the reality. So when I'm talking, when I give you guys the crux of this live stream, which is the inevitable civil war that's coming, World War III and World War IV, ladies and gentlemen, they've already started. You know, and the World War III is going to be it's going to be a conflict on an industrial scale, guys. It is. World War IV is going to be it's going to be a conflict on an industrial scale, and that's going to be fought by the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs are going to be fighting that conflict. When we've got the and then we're going to have the Homeland War, which is going to be World War IV, and it's already started. You can see the segregation already in the United Kingdom, can't you? You can see that segregation already in the United Kingdom. You can see, you know, little Somalia. You can see little Bangladesh. You can see little, little Pakistan. You know, very soon we're going to have little England. You know, so these things are coming, guys. They've already started. And I think the first step where, you know, it's going to be really telling to start seeing the first people get convicted by just a judge. Now, I did have faith. I used to have faith in the judicial system in the United Kingdom. The problem here now is you can't hide anything anymore. So I've seen in the United... Let me get this up. Hang on, let me get this up. Now, I'm just going to read you this headline, guys, okay? In fact, I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to share it because there's a paywall, but this is the headline, guys, from August the 20th, all right? Rioter who shouted at a police dog jailed for 20 months. Now, this guy is called Bradley McCarthy. I'm not making that up. I'm not making that up, guys. So, look, guys, and I'm not a judge. You know, I'm not a judge. But I don't think if you shout at a dog, you should be given 20 months in jail. I'm not advocating for shouting at dogs. I think I wouldn't shout at a dog. I think, do you know what? I'll put this out there as well. I think if you shout at a dog, you're a dick. I do. I think if you shout at a dog, you're a dick. It makes no sense. Why are you shouting at a dog, mate? You're a fucking idiot. All right. With the same context, I don't think that's jail for 20 months. I mean, where do you go with this? Because now, look, guys, now that precedence is set, and I'm going to develop this a little bit. Okay, let's just say that now it's fair game to send people to jail for 20 months for shouting at a dog. What if a dog bites you and you're like, fucking hell, get off me? Oh, he swore at that dog. Yeah, we're biting him. Yeah, but he still swore at him. DJI chips send out location data and need to encrypt and cycle through country. Yeah, we know that. He should have apologized to the dog and a £50 fine. Look, guys, it's, you know, what I'm talking about here is the first steps to, you know, the first steps have already been in place, guys. Can you guys remember? Listen, guys, I've just thought of this in real time. I was going to close this down, but you guys, right. Can you guys remember? Let me Google this. Guys, this is gonna send chills down your spine. Are you ready who's ready for spine chilling? Who's ready to be chilled in their spines? Give me a second. Right, guys, I promise you, you're about to have your spines chilled. You're about to have your spines chilled, all right? I've just thought of this in real time.
To 1st of September 2020.
Can you remember this? Can you guys remember this, ladies and gentlemen? Just listen to this, because I think we're in phase 3 now.
Definitely over, and this morning.
Sorry.
Summer's definitely over, and this morning we've got all the number 10 staff together and talked through what phase 2 of the government is going to look like.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Talk through what phase 2 of the government is going to look like and feel like. So we go into phase 2, 1st of September 2025.
So the government, and I remember doing a video on this, guys. I remember talking about this on a video. So in the 1st of September, the government went into phase 2. I'm going to say right now, we're in phase 3. So phase 3, all right, tax people more, and make sure that you take control of the judiciary system. Done. Phase 3 complete. Can you guys not see it? Tell me I'm wrong, guys. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. This is just me speculating. Tell me I'm wrong. Phase 1's complete. Phase 2's complete. We're in phase 3 now, and maybe we're even in phase 4. But you can see these direct changes, can't you? These like massive moves. And because he's standing there, and people think, "Oh, Stu, get rid of Rachel Reeves." So what? She's not in charge. Barry Payne is saying the UK has bigger problems than shouting at dogs. Listen, guys, I'll be quite clear. I don't think anybody should be shouting at dogs. I think you're a dick if you shout at a dog, unless it's like biting you or something. Fuck it, I think that, I think if you go up to a dog and you shout at it, it's pointless. What are you hoping to achieve? But equally, I don't think you should get 20 months in jail for that. Have you heard about councils using drones to monitor areas? I've not, no. Although it doesn't surprise me. I've got a friend who has a drone company, and they do lots of work for the council. They do lots of work for the council. It's quite lucrative, actually. It's quite lucrative. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys, I'm going to close this down now. You guys have been fantastic. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you for hanging out with me this morning, guys. I'm going to be back on, I'm going to be back on later on today at 8. I will, good sirs. I'll be back on later this evening at 8. Don't forget to like. If you've not done so already, guys, please hit the follow. If you're on YouTube watching, the buttons down below, the like, the subscribe, the bell notification, like whatever the buttons are down there, guys. I don't really know. Hit those buttons. If you're watching on X and if you're watching on Twitch as well, guys, we are streaming on Twitch now as well. I need to get the Twitch handle at the bottom there, which I've not done yet. Anyway, guys, I am going to close this down now. I will be speaking to you guys later on today. Be under no illusion how peril the situation is that we are in the United Kingdom right now. We don't even have the rights, I don't think, when destroying the trial by jury, that's literally made it legal now for the police to come and arrest me for voicing my opinion online, and it's only a matter of time before, somebody gets a knock at the door. DeMarie Gen X, we've heard DeMarie Gen X through your Alexa that you had an anti-government, you made an anti-government joke. We're sending you to jail. That's where we are, guys. That's where we're at. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, close this down now. You guys have been fantastic as always. I'll see you guys at 8. Don't be late.